Okay, I don't need. You mind?
Hi, Abe. Hi.
Okay.
Where are you, Abe?
I'm in Muncie, actually.
You're where?
In Muncie, New York.
Oh my God, I was near you. I was in New Jersey. Just got here
You were in New Jersey?
yeah, I just got back this afternoon, this morning
Ah,
actually. So
ah.
who's in Muncie?
We have a wedding in Muncie, a wedding in New York, and then a bar mitzvah on Shabbos in the Five
Oh, very
Towns.
nice.
So
Very
we're here
nice.
for the week.
Keeps you busy.
Absolutely.
Hi, George.
Good
Hi,
evening.
George.
How are you?
Good,
Very
good.
good.
We're all good.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Getting ready to go on service for the VA for the next 2 weeks. So
Oh, wow.
I need to clear a bunch of stuff and make sure that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, how's it working out with the VA with the government shutdown? Does it have any effect?
Uh, it's a big problem.
Yeah,
It's a big problem. The problem that you get into is that so many of these people truly live paycheck to paycheck.
right. Yeah,
Ay. And the other side of it is that the system is organized in such a way that it's been educated not to save ever. It doesn't save. So they don't have any backup of funds or resources
yeah.
to call on. And
Wow.
that makes it very challenging.
Yeah.
Harold, where were you in New York watching the game?
No, I'm back in LA.
Huh?
I'm back in LA.
Okay, welcome back.
Nice to be back.
We missed you. We missed you. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. We're on Daf Mem. Excuse me, Daf
Nun.
Nun. Daf Nun, 50. Dover Alami Behekish, Maushi. Again, we're dealing in Kodshim. We have a lot of methodologies of drushas that Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Shmuel details in the Yud Gimel Midos Shator Nidreshes pen, Kavachomer, Binyanav, Hekesh, Kser Shava. A lot of those methodologies do not apply to Kodshim. We've been going through some of these issues. So, for example, Dover Alami Behekesh, if something A is taught to B through a Hekesh, can you go from B to C through a Binyanav? Marshi Alam Binyanav. Amrav Yirmiyah. Well, if it was true that that worked, then Lo Lichtav Tzafona Ba'asham, the Torah could have been silent regarding Tzafona, where you shech the ashram. Like, because we made a hekesh between a chatas and an ola and compared it to an ashram. And instead, Teisim Binyanav Mechatas. We could have just learned it out from a Binyanav from chatas. Both are kotche kotchim. And chatas is learned from a hekesh, from tzofon by ola. So ola teaches chatas that it requires tzofon through a hekesh. And we're going to learn to asham through a Binyanav. But we had another drasha. Must be that Dover Alami Be'ekesh does not melamed Binyanav. Right? L'mayilchus kasvei. must be lav lamemer davar lemi behekesh ein choizer malav vinyana. Now, if that's correct, l'tameh, we could have asked, why couldn't we have learned directly from a binyan from Ola, right? Tasting a binyan me Ola. Ola is a kodesh kodshim. Ashram is a kodesh kodshim. Madach Ola needs tzofon. Through a binyan av, Ashram would require tzofon. My time ela asi. Why wasn't it learned this way? Oh, because the binyan av is easy to break through svara. Yishum dikala mifrach. Mala oila shekain kolil. An ola is more chomer than an asham because the kohanim eat the meat of an asham, but an ola is completely burnt. Well, you could ask the same thing from chatas nami ekila mifrach. If you're going to learn a binyan av, because we proposed learning a binyan av from chatas to asham, mala chatas shekain mechaper sal chavi krisus. We bring a korban chatas when you violate a law, like eating chaylev or dam that gives you kares. An asham is not like that. So these, fine. Binyan av from 1 to 1 we can't learn. But you have 3 korbanos. Oila chatas asham. Chadam echad lo yasya. To learn 1 from 1 we can't. Teisi chadam mitarti. But let's learn 1 from a combination of 2. So the Gemara wants to know ma'u teisi. What would you do? Lo nichtav rachmana ba'ola. Let the Torah be silent. By tzofon, by oil of it. Teisi mechatas v'asham. And you learn it from a combination of chatas v'asham to ola, we would say, malahanach shekain mechatrim. Chatas and asham are atonement types of korbanos. An ola is a pure matana. Lo nichtav rachmana b'chatas v'teisi me'anach. Let the Torah be silent by chatas and learn it from a combination of ola and asham. Malahanach shekain zecharim. An asham and an ola have to be male. A chatas can be female. Lo nichtav b'asham v'teis me'anach. Fine. Let the Torah be silent by asham, and we'll learn it from a combination of chatas and ola. Malahana sheken yeshna b'tzibur kiviyachid. There are examples of korban ola that are both brought as a korban yachid and as a korban tzibur. There are korban chatases that are brought by an individual, and the tzibur also brings korbanei chatas. And asham never brings, the tzibur never brings an asham. So therefore, we've rejected all methodologies of learning from a binyan. Fine. Dover alamid b'gzer shav marshi alamid behekish. Let's say A and B, you learn B from A through gzer shava. Can we then turn around and make a hekesh from B to C? Amrav Papa v'zois toira zevach hashlamim im al toda yiviyenu. Makes a hekesh between Toda and Shlamim. L'madlu l'toda shabam and meiser. Right? Meiser sheni, the farmer has to bring meiser sheni. That money that, let's say you have a big farm in Tel Aviv, and you have $1,000 worth of grain, and it's too difficult to schlep the grain and eat it to Yerushalayim. So you poda it for money. There's a 20% surtax to $1,200. You bring the $1,200, you buy food in Yerushalayim. Not only can you buy food, you can pater your, this is like getting a tax deduction. You owe the $1,200 anyways, and let's say you have gotten out of prison, or let's say you were healed from an illness, or you're mechuyev to bring a korban toda. Well, you could pay for your korban toda with meiser sheni money. It doesn't have to be chulin money. So you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So from this hekesh between Shlamim and Toda, we learn Lamad l'Toda Shabam and Meiser. Because Shlamim can also come from Meiser Sheni money. Why? Shlamim Gufay Minala. Where do you see that? It says V'zavachta Shlamim ve'achalta Sham. So, and it says by Meiser, ve'achalta b'makom asher amar shalom shaken shmo Sham. So it's Gzeir Shava Sham Sham. So we learned Gzeira Shava, and then we turned around and we made a Hekesh Toda to Shlomi. So it looks like we're allowed to do that. All right, let me just get a tissue, please, for a second. Amalei Marzutra Braid Rav Mary Ravina. There's no proof from here because Meiser Dogon is Chulin Ba'almos, not Kotchim. Our restrictions here is only by Kotchim, and Meiser is not Kotchim. There's no Gedorim by these Limudim when it's not Kotchim. Amalei Amar Amra Lame Kodesh Umalame Kodesh. Both sides of the equation don't have to be Kodesh. Even if one side of the equation is Kodesh, you can't learn by Kodshim, you cannot make the Hekesh, the Gzeir Shava, and then make a Hekesh. Dover Alamid B'Gzeir Shava, Maushi Alamid B'Gzeir Shava. You learned the Gzeir Shava A to B, and now you have another word with C that equals B. Can you go from A to B to C through two Gzeir Shavas? By the loaves of bread that you bring with the Korban Torah, you have to bring 40 loaves. And there are three types. Revucha, which first, it's like a bagel. They would like boil it in water and then bake it. Then they'd have chalois or kikin. Soilas murbeches, lamadnu, l'revucha shabas soilas. It has to come from fine flour. But you also need flour by chalois. Chalois minayin tamad lamer chalois by Gzeir Shava. It says solos murbeches chalois, and then it says chalois by the din of chalois. What about rikikin wafers by a toida minayin? Tamad lamer chalos matzos, 3 times chalos matzos rikikin matzos. So we learn Gzeir Shava and another Gzeir Shava. Amar Ravina mimai matzos mechalos gamar. Did we learn this as a Gzeir Shava from chalos? Dilma mimafet toner gomer. There are by things that were baked in an oven. It also says matzos, which comes from soilus. And Amar Rava, you can't bring a raya from here that a thing that is learned by Gzeir Shava can turn around and learn by another Gzeir Shava. Because we learn in a Brisa Tanya, by the par koin Mashiach, ves ora par ves kol psaro, vikirbo ufirsho. Its innards and the excrement. So you take the whole cow outside the machane, you burn it. We don't remove the hide, and we don't take the excrement out of the intestines. We don't cut it into pieces. I might think you burn it whole. Nemar kan rosho ukra'av, head and its pieces or legs. V'nemar lahalan by an ola rosho ukra'av. Ma lahalan by an oila. Ayadei nituach afkan ayadei nituach. An ola's, we cut it up into limbs and then offer it. Maybe the Parman is roughing the same thing. The Gemara says, no, imala halan behevshit. By an oil, you also have to strip the hide. Avkan behevshit? Talmud loymar v'kirbo for show. Not my Talmud. The Gemara doesn't understand the limud from kirbo for show. Amrapapa kashem shapir shall be kirbo, just like the excrement is in the intestine. And we burn it that way, and you don't take it out. Kach psar ba'oiroi. So too the flesh remains in the hide. We don't cut it up. Vitanya by par v'sor shel Yom Kippur, Rebbe Omer, nemar kan or basar uperish. It says hide, flesh, and the innards. V'nemar lahalan by par koin Mashiach or basar uperish. Ma lahalan by the par koin Mashiach ayadei nituach shelo. You do cut it up, but not with taking off the hide. Afkan, the parvis of Yom Kippurim, al yinadei nituch shelo behefshet. So you do learn Gzeir Shava and another Gzeir Shava, A to B and B to C. Davar lamed b'Gzeir Shava ma'asher yilamed b'kava chomer. A to B was learned b'Gzeir Shava. Now you want to learn a kava chomer to C. Kava chomer, u'ma hekesh einam lamed b'hekesh. We've said you can't learn A to B with a hekesh and B to C with a hekesh, either because of Rava or Ravina that we learned in Mem Tes. Melamed b'kava chomer, but you still can learn a kava chomer from the way Tanit Rabbi Yishmael learned. Now Gzeir Shava Melamed b'hekesh. Mi Rav Papa. Gzeir Shava that can be learned after a hekesh, which we learned from Rav Papa. Einu din shetulamid b'kava chomer. So we've set up a kava chomer to say that we should be able to use a kava chomer. But that only works on Ichlaman de Islay Rav Papa, who holds of that sheet of Rav Papa. Elaman de Lesley Rav Papa, Michael Meimar. Ela kava chomer, the following. Umay hekesh she'ein melamid behekesh. You can't go A to B and B to C with two akeshim, either through Imi Rava or Imi Ravina. And Melamed b'kava chomer atanat Rabbi Shmuel. Gzeir Shava, Melamedes b'Gzeir Shava, Chaverta, Rami Bar Chama, Einu din shetelamed b'kava chomer. So based on this kava chomer, you can go from Gzeir Shava to teach a kava chomer. What about Davar Lamed b'Gzeir Shava, Mashi Lamed b'Vinyanav? Teku. That we don't have an answer for. What about Davar Lamed b'kava chomer? Let's say B was learned from A through a kava chomer. Can you take B through C through a hekesh? Mashi Lamed b'hekesh. We can say kava chomer. Ma Gzeir Shava she'ena lemeida b'hekesha. Gzeir Shava cannot be learned after a hekesh. Mi Rav Yochanan. Still, you can learn Gzeir Shava melamed hekesh from Rav Papa. Kava chomer halamed b'hekesh mitan Rabbi Shmuel. The kava chomer that can follow a hekesh, which we learned from the yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel, einu din she'lamed b'hekesh. But hani ch'laman dimer yisle Rav Papa. That only works according to those who hold like Rav Papa. Laman de Leslie Rav Papa, Michael Meimar. So teku, that question of something that starts with a kava chomer can be transferred through a hekesh, left with teku. Davar lamed b'kava chomer, mashi lamed b'gzeir shava, kava chomer. Ma gzeir shava she'ena lemeida b'hekesha, gzeir shava that's not taught on with a hekesh. Mi Rav Yochanan. Yet malamed gzeir shava and Rami Bar Chama, but you can do a second gzeir shava the way Rami Bar Chama explained. Kava chomer alamed b'hekesh mitan Rabbi Shmuel. But a kava chomer that can be followed after a hekesh, einu din she'lamed b'gzeir shava. And it seems the Gemara holds with that. Now the Gemara asks, Davar alamid b'kava chomer, marshi alamid b'kava chomer. B was learned from A through a kava chomer. Can you set up a kava chomer B through C? So the Gemara answers, it's a kava chomer. Umagzer shava she'ena lemeida b'hekesh, b'Rav Yochanan. Gzeir shava cannot learn after a hekesh, from the way Rav Yochanan taught. B'lamed b'kava chomer, but you can learn a kava chomer afterwards. Kava chomer alamid b'hekesh. A kava chomer can follow a hekesh midatan Rabbi Shmuel. Einu din she'lamed b'kava chomer. Certainly, you could follow it with a kava chomer. V'zeu kava chomer ben kava chomer. This is a kava chomer, the son of a kava chomer, because it explained that you can use a kava chomer. Afraid more ben beno shel kava as a grandson. The makor of a kava chomer is, we said, is learned after Gzeir Shava, and that whole thing is also a kava chomer. Ela kava chomer, the following. Ma hekesh she'ena lamed b'hekesh. B was learned through a hekesh. You can't learn B to C through a hekesh. Imi Rava, Imi Ravina. Still, malamed b'kava chomer, you can learn a kava chomer B to C based on what Tanit Rabbi Shmuel taught. Kava chomer, which is itself lamed b'hekesh, meaning Tanit Rabbi Shmuel, einu din she'lamed b'kava chomer. V'zeu kava chomer ben kava chomer. This is the kava chomer, the son of the initial kava chomer, which says that you can use a kava chomer. Davar lamed b'kava chomer, marshi lamed b'vinyanav. B was learned from A through a kava chomer. Can we learn B to C through a binyanav? Rav Yirmiyah Toshma. Moloch, we know that by a bird, we don't shech the bird. The Kohen uses his thumbnail to break its neck from the behind its back of its neck. Normally, if you kill a bird that way, it's a nevela, you wouldn't be able to eat it. But in the Beis Hamikdash, it was allowed to be eaten. Moloch v'nimtzas treifa. Let's say you did malika, and then when you open up the bird, you find that it's a treifa. Rameir Oimer, fine. The malika didn't kasher it. But it's not like it died. Ve'ena metame. Bebeis abliya. Normally, in the vela, is metame a person if you put it in your mouth. But this is not metame because it's not considered like it just died. It was basically shechted. Just like if you shecht a treifa, it also doesn't, you're not allowed to eat it, but it's not metame. Doesn't have tumas nevela. Here as well, even though if you're moilek a bird outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's a nevela, and it's metame Beis Hamikdash, but not in the Beis Hamikdash, says Rabbi Yirmiyah. Says Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, since it was a treifa, and the malika did not kasher it, so it is an avela, and it's metame bebeis abli. And if you put it in the mouth, it will metame you. So Rav Meir responds with a kavachomer. Uman nivlas behema shemetame b'magav v'masa. If an animal dies and it's an avela, if you touch it, you're metame. But shchitasa metaheres, treifasa metumasa. If the behema was a treifa and you shechted it, it would not have tumas nevela. It would be tohar. So nevela's oath, the nevela of a bird, which is more lenient. You have to put it in the back of your mouth to metame. It a stronger tuma contaminates you just with touch. A bird, nevela, does not metame you with touch. So certainly then, the shchita of a bird, and a malika is the shchita of a bird, should be metired the treifa of the malika from its tumah. And now we're going to go ahead, even though we started the limud through a kavachomer, we're going to continue with the binyanav. Ma matzinu b'shchita shemichsharta b'achila. Shchita, if it was a bird chulin, would kasher it. And mitaheres treifosim and tumasim, if the bird was a treifa, would not have tumah. Af malika in kotshim shemichsharta b'achila, that normally would kasher this for the coin to eat, titar treifosim and tumasa. It certainly should clear it up from its tumah. Okay.
Shloach.